It's been just under 1 year since Heather Stefanson was sworn in as Manitoba's 24th Premier. With the rising cost of living, a struggling healthcare system, and calls for action around reconciliation, how will Premier Stefanson lead the province going into next year's upcoming provincial election? Well, I'm pleased to say that the Premier, Heather Stefanson, is in studio with us now. Good morning.
Good morning, Marcy. Great to be in studio. Back in studio with you again. This is exciting.
Right? It's been 2 years and 8 months. You're my first live human being.
Oh, really? That's great.
Yeah, I almost forgot what that's like. Oh, yes, we talk to people.
Yes.
So you heard me talk about the milestone. Of course, you know it's coming up. Just almost a year since you've been Premier. What have you learned in that time? When you just, without even thinking, what have you learned?
I think, I've learned a lot about Manitobans themselves. Manitobans are looking and expecting for us to be listening to them, taking a collaborative approach to things, I think, when it comes to working with other levels of government or people within the community to really action items and get things done. And so my focus really over the last year has been about getting things done. And I think we've had some success there.
When you think about your top success, how would you name it in terms of what you've been able to accomplish?
Like I would say getting working collaboratively with the federal government as well as the city of Winnipeg on things like getting the North End wastewater treatment facility going that next phase of that. The Arctic Gateway, the line to Churchill as well, which is exciting. There's so many of those things I think that are exciting out there. Working on reconciliation, obviously with Indigenous people, and there's just been obviously affordability, healthcare have been top of mind issues out there with Manitobans right now. So we've been doing a number of things in those areas, and so it's been a busy time.
What have you been unable to achieve?
Well, I think there's still more work to do when it comes to affordability. We still have those inflationary pressures out there. Obviously, nothing unique to Manitoba, but across the country, around the world. So we need to take that very seriously. That's why we did announce our $87 million for families, for seniors, to just help them make ends meet. There's still more work, obviously, to do in healthcare. And I'm looking forward. I'm taking over the chair of the Council of Federation, which is the premiers across the country. So I just took over that role last week, I think it was, or the week before. And I'm looking forward to working with our counterparts across the country and tackling some of those major issues.
When it comes to affordability, you have faced some criticism around the minimum wage, and also some people that are happy to see it changing. Josh Brandon, Social Planning Council of Winnipeg, has said that the amount we're at doesn't meet what a recent study shows as a living wage. So while it is an improvement, of course, it doesn't show a living wage, which would be $16 by all kinds of calculation. He says the increase doesn't take into account inflation. What's your reaction to that?
So we're never going to make everybody happy. Some say it's too much, some say it's not enough. But I think what's important here is that we're taking a step in the right direction. And we're doing it in a responsible approach. We're phasing it in up to, we believe it will be with the Consumer Price Index should be over or $15 by next year this time. So we think that that's a responsible way to go. There will be some supports for businesses, small businesses who are looking also to make ends meet throughout this as well. So we'll be announcing that soon.
An Angus Reid poll, and we always talk about polls of politicians, and you and I have talked about this before. But I want to ask you, just coming up to your year here. This was in March. You were ranked at that time the least popular premier in Canada. The recent Probe Research poll said if an election were held today, only 37% of Manitobans would vote for your Progressive Conservative Party. And significantly, I think that even when you look at where traditionally the PC base has been in this province, which is outside of Winnipeg, even there you had less support than you've had in the past. How do you respond to those poll results, and how do you, instead of sort of dismissing it's a poll, I wonder what do you do to improve that then? How does that make you mindful? What do you think about?
Yeah, well, first of all, I knew when I got into this, when I decided to run for the leader of our party, there's a huge uphill battle for our party. Going for a third consecutive majority government for a Conservative government in the province has had its challenges in the past. We've seen it in the past, and really it's always a challenge. So I know that, and we know that as a caucus going into this, and as a party going into this. We recognize that. But all I can do is put one foot in front of the other each and every day and try and do something something better for Manitobans. And that's why we'll continue to focus on, affordability is the number one issue right across the country. It is here in Manitoba. We'll continue to take measures to try and make ends meet for Manitobans.
Why do you think you lost the support?
I'm not sure if it's lost the support or if it's just, people maybe just don't know me yet. And it takes a while to get to know people. I think, politics in Canada in general are very leader-centrist, leader-focused. And, for the last number of years, it's been about the leader as opposed to about a team of people. I'd really like to try and change that. We have a tremendous team of people that I work with that help, me do my job each and every day. And I think those people really need to be highlighted out there as well. And I think as people get to know what we're trying to do and we care about the things that matter to them, affordability, healthcare, all of those things matter to us that matter to them. And we'll continue to move in that direction.
You have an opportunity for Manitobans to get to know you a little bit in so much in this format right now. What would you like them to know about you then?
Well, I think, I listen. I get out there. I've been out all this summer listening to Manitobans and beyond and before that. I've been in politics for 22 years in elected politics. I've always felt that we need to get out and listen, hear what Manitobans want, take action and get results for Manitobans. So that's what I want them to know, that I am committed to ensuring, not just me, but my entire team of people is absolutely committed to getting better results for Manitobans.
22 years in politics can help and hurt you too, though, right? Because you get used to sort of, and with respect, you can get used to the silos that you work within, right? How was it different for you stepping out from being in politics to being the leader, the premier? How was that shift felt for you?
Yeah, well, first of all, 16 years of that was in opposition. Very tough to get things done, although we were able to get some things done. The Special Olympics Manitoba Awareness Week Act is one that I think of. But beyond that, getting into government, being in cabinet, your focus is really just on that individual area that you're responsible for. Now, I've had the opportunity to be in obviously in justice and families and health, and so it gave me the background. I have a bit of a finance background as well, so that's helped me throughout this. Being on Treasury Board has helped me, and just to make me be that person to be in this position. I feel so incredibly privileged to be here, and I take it very seriously.
It's 7:51 a.m. Premier Heather Stefanson is live in studio, our first live guest, I'm saying, in 2 years and 8 months, with a conversation. We're nearing a year since she's taken on the top job. I want to talk about electricity rates. So Bill 36, I don't want to get lost in the weeds here for the listeners, but it gives Manitoba Hydro more autonomy to set rates to reduce their debt. Critics, as you know, are concerned this could mean rate increases year over year for Manitobans because the pub would no longer be setting that. Why do politicians need more say in setting electricity rates?
So this is not about politicians setting electricity rates. Bill 36 is actually about protecting ratepayers as well as protecting Manitoba Hydro.
Does that mean we weren't protected before then, though?
No, what it is, though, especially right now in inflationary times, so we know inflation is upwards of 8%, right now. So we've capped that potential increase to 5% because we just don't know. Again, it's up to Manitoba Hydro. They apply to the Public Utilities Board, an independent body, for those rate increases or for whatever the rates are that they want. And the Public Utilities Board decides what those rates are. It's not politicians.
But if we didn't need that protection in the past, like if we didn't need a Bill 36 in the past in times where inflationary pressure was there, if we didn't face those rate hikes up to where inflation went, why do we need it now?
We need it because there's inflation out there right now. Absolutely. So to cap it, we need to make life more affordable for Manitobans. So capping it at that 5% doesn't mean it'll be 5%. It's the lesser of 5% or the consumer price index. So that's what it would be capped at. So if the CPI is less than 5%, it would be less than that. And so that's how this works. So there's a lot of misinformation that's going on out there. I want to correct the record. This is about protecting ratepayers as well as protecting Manitoba Hydro. And that's what I think Manitobans want.
How can you assure Manitobans that their rates won't rise too dramatically? What is your offer this morning to say this won't happen? Well, don't worry.
The offer is that we have a bill before the Manitoba legislature right now that protects them from further inflationary increases. The NDP wants to vote against that, which means that they're okay with hydro rates going beyond the 5%.
Well, I think that might be a little bit disingenuous, though, in characterizing
but,
that.
If you vote against it, if you vote against it, that's potentially what could happen, and those are the consequences of actions that are taken by the opposition. So, but aside from that, we are all about making life more affordable for Manitobans. We announced an $87 million package to help Manitoba families, to help seniors, to help those most in need out there in our communities, and we'll continue to take affordability measures.
Just in fairness, I mean, it's not just the NDP. There's a coalition that includes Harvest Manitoba and Consumers Association of Canada that's also concerned about this, which is why it's being raised.
Yeah, well, I will tell you that these are the facts. That these are putting a cap in place to ensure that because of those inflationary pressures are not just in Manitoba, as you know, they're across the country and around the world, and they're caused by things that are outside of what we do in Manitoba. But what we need to do is make sure that because of those inflationary increases that we're protecting Manitobans. That's why we put that cap in place.
I see your red dress on your. You're wearing a small red dress today.
MMIWG Day International.
Friday was, of course, National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. It's not yet a stat in Manitoba. Will there be legislation in place by next September 30th to make that a statutory
holiday? So we're in the
holiday?
process of going through consultations. It would be wrong for us to put something through without going through adequate consultations. And so that's what the minister is doing, or ministers are doing, along with Indigenous communities out there to ensure that we get this right. And I think this is going to be something that will be there for the long haul. I will tell you that it doesn't take a day, just one day, when it comes to truth and reconciliation. This is a long-term commitment on our government's behalf. We are committed to truth and reconciliation. We'll continue to do that every day, not just one day.
Why does it take a year, though? I mean, last year already we were walking on September 30th. So why isn't this already declared? I'm not sure what you're consulting about.
So we're consulting with Manitobans who are impacted by this, so First Nations communities, Métis, Inuit. Those consultations are ongoing. There is an agreement as to, and also the business community as well, who will be impacted by it as well. So there isn't necessarily full agreement out there as to what that stat holiday would look like. So
what are the points of disagreement?
So I think, well, I don't have all the details here, but of course the ministers are spearheading this and going through that consultation process, which I think is incredibly important. The last thing I think we want to do is be going in and setting a stat holiday where adequate consultation hasn't taken place.
Heading into Thanksgiving weekend, what are you thankful for?
I am thankful for my family, for my kids. They're away right now. My husband and I are empty nesters this year, so it's been tough without having them around. And I think I'm thankful for this wonderful province that we live in as well, and all the things that it has to offer for everyone. And so I wish everyone out there a very happy Thanksgiving weekend, and to you, Marcy, as well.
Thank you so much. I do have a last question for you. What worries you the most about the province right now? Just a big question when you think about it. What's your biggest worry? You know,
I think I'm worried about affordability and what that means for Manitobans. That's why we are taking some action there. I'm worried a little bit about crime as well. I think we're seeing that on the rise a little bit in Manitoba, not just in Manitoba, but across the country. I know the minister has been taking that very seriously, as have I, and we've been out working with stakeholders, and I think we'll have something coming forward soon to try and tackle some of the core issues there when it comes to crime in Manitoba.
You want to tell me now? No?
Nice try.
I know, I did. I had to try. Thank you very much for being with us in studio.
Thanks, Marcy. Great to be here.